Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals board meeting for August 16th, 2017. First, we have on our agenda the approval of the minutes for the last meeting of July 19th, 2017. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the proposed draft minutes?
Yes.
I had just one small correction, which was on number 3, Gonzalez, on the first sentence. It should be, the ZEO reviewed Mr. Gonzalez's proposal. But other than that, I didn't see anything. Anybody else?
No, I move to accept them with that one small change.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, carried. They're approved. And then we have one new matter on. Is anybody here from, is it Steicher and Schultz?
Yes.
Come on up. The process here is, good evening first, is to, if you could just go up to the speaker, announce who you are, and just explain the application to us. If we feel the application is complete, we'll accept it tonight and set a public hearing. If we think we need some more information, we may ask you for some more information and still accept the application. So anyway, I think we've all had a chance to take a look at it, but please, if you could just tell us who you are and explain the application.
Sure. My name is Tony Steicher. My wife is Melissa Schultz. We just bought the house there, and we're having it renovated. There's 2 changes, which I'm happy to fill you in on what those are. But the matter we're here about tonight is we're hoping to add a screen porch, where on the map you'll see the highlighted portion. We're taking down a lot of the deck around the house, but we want a screen porch for 2 main, partly because of leisure, but also my wife is allergic to bees, and we have a 3-year-old daughter who we're just concerned about ticks. We want an outside place for her to be, that doesn't have as many ticks.
Right.
So that's the main thing.
Okay, well, I see that this evening, and by the way, this was helpful. You gave us a second document here, just outlining where the deck is. I know, or the screened in, is it a deck or porch or?
Screen porch.
Screen porch. So that's helpful. Also, I see that you gave us some renderings, which again is helpful. Is there anything there at this point in time, or is it just going to be is it just yard at this point?
It's mostly yard. It's a little bit wooded.
Okay.
Yeah.
At some point in time, we would probably want to have it staked just so we could kind of see what it looks like, because what we typically do is we have one or more board members go out and review the site, take a look around the site. So having the stakes kind of where, showing where it's going to be would be helpful. So,
Sure.
But that's down the road.
Okay.
Any board members have any questions of Mr. Steicher?
Just one, I see where the well is, but I don't see the septic field. Do you know where that is?
The septic field is behind the garage.
Okay, south.
Yeah.
To me, it's a pretty simple application. I don't see the need for any further information, but I'll ask my board members. Does anybody else need any more information in order to consider the application?
Not I.
So the variance requested is this dimension, are you, on this map? It's this dimension?
It's a side yard setback, yeah.
From here to the north property line? Okay.
I believe that's the problematic
Okay,
dimension.
so that dimension is not,
There is a denial letter from the zoning enforcement officer. Was that circulated to the?
Yep.
It
Okay.
was. We got it this evening. Why don't you come on up here if you could and just kind of show us, because it looks like you have plenty of room on this side here. There's 180 feet, basically 179.
so, yeah, the only thing
Oh,
I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing the dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks like this has been
I
handwritten
think it's on
in.
one of the documents. I think,
see.
well, my understanding of the problem is this, that's the problem. That the house is grandfathered in, but the house violates the setback. from
Oh, okay.
the neighbor's yard. So.
But it looks like it would be almost, is this the front yard along Mill Road?
Yeah, I mean, this is all wooded. The only real yard, grass yard is here.
Right.
And it actually goes on to the Deers and Martins property.
It's
We've talked
18.5.
about it. They have no problem.
So the only.
Are we talking here? I mean, is this,
The yard, the actual
I mean-
yard is sort of here.
no, but I'm just trying to figure out where you need, what was it?
They want
The side yard, I think it's a back, is it?
58-foot variance
Right.
to the property line, which looks like the
Proposed
one
side
to
yard
the
for the
north.
screen porch addition along Mill. And I guess I just don't see it. This is Mill Road right here, but you got 179 feet, so I don't,
I think it's this dimension.
that's what I think, you're right. I think
Yeah,
that,
that's
it's right here.
grandfathered in.
No, right here, right from here to there. I think that's what we're talking about.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But then the issue I would have, maybe we could accept it and then just require for the next meeting that this should actually be drawn on and measured, as part of the survey, I would think.
Yeah.
It's the official.
Right, because rather than where the house is, you want from the
Yes.
porch.
Yeah, because the house is 18 and a half, and you're looking at,
And this is a survey, but this looks like it's just been hand-drawn in pencil.
and this is going to be 42 feet.
If the
I
house
guess.
is 18, that doesn't look like it's 42, that looks like it's 26.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not,
Okay.
yeah, have them make it have accurate. It's very helpful to have, but have them make it accurate so we know exactly where, what we're considering.
And since he'll be doing that, if you could ask him to put we don't need it staked out, but the septic on the survey.
Just generally where it is. He said it's behind the garage.
Yes.
It was like in the, or,
Right.
Yeah, I think so. That's
oh, okay.
We have one approved the legal septic.
Just a couple, I think. We don't, one for the file certainly, and then, a couple for, we can take a look at it at a public hearing. Yeah, that's fine.
We get those to Chris?
Yeah, oh yeah, and she'll hand them out.
So we'll update the survey
Yep.
and to accurately show the location of the deck and the required setback.
Yeah. And we'll stake it too, so.
Yeah, for when we go out there, yeah. Okay, subject to the revised survey more accurately showing the setback you need, I'm willing to make a motion.
Sorry, I just have one other thought.
Okay.
It's always nice to know where the nearest house is to the proposed project, so the Deers and Martin house might, and driveway even, doesn't.
If they're even on here. I mean,
Right.
they may be so far off, I don't know.
They're probably not on here, but I don't know, we couldn't get a survey from them for their property, or?
No.
Your surveyor might locate them if they're in this field of view.
And as you say, even if you could say they're at least 100 feet away
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, if they're not on, if they're not
If they're not in
within
this field of
Yeah.
view.
well, it's fine, because,
This field of view is fine.
Okay, great.
Hey, we could just look on parcel access to get
That's
the
true, too.
information, just
Yep.
to sort of see where the
maybe
house
Chris can do
is.
that?
Huh?
Maybe Chris can do that?
Yeah.
Chris, can you
yeah.
do that? All right, so don't worry about that, we'll take care of that through Chris. The main thing is just to get an updated survey so we know exactly where the variance is.
Okay.
Okay.
Stake it.
Okay, that's great. So, subject to that additional information, I make a motion to accept the application. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Want to sign it?
Yeah, we'll assign it to, yeah, I think it's your turn. So we'll assign it to Jeff, and we also need to make a secret determination, and I think it's 12 and 13. What say you, John?
It actually qualifies under both 12 and 13.
Okay.
Now, just out of curiosity, this is using our new application.
Yeah, it's going to be, my recommendation is the board classify it as a type 2 action tonight, which means it's exempt from seeker, and therefore the EAF's not required.
Okay, and John, do you want a separate motion that we
Yes, please.
determine? Okay, so separately, I would move that we have reviewed the application, determined it to be a type 2 action under seeker, and specifically under 617, 5C12, and 13. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. We will set this up for a public hearing that next date, September 20th? Is that a date you can be here?
It's a Wednesday,
Yeah,
third Wednesday.
Yeah, we meet once a month, so
one of us will be here.
one of you, that's okay, we just need one of you. And basically, it's the same process. Your neighbors will be notified, or folks within a certain area will be notified. If they want to come out and voice their opinion, that's great. A lot of times, you're talking to us again, so we'll see what happens. We'll see you on the 20th. Thank you.
Sounds good, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and the only other thing that needs to take place tonight, Scott, is that referrals are required in
Right.
this instance to the Rhinebeck Planning Board and to the Waterfront Advisory Committee, because the property is within the coastal zone.
Okay. We'll take care of that.
Okay.
Great,
thanks.
thank you. Okay. As we can wait a moment or two, the public hearing on Gonzalez is scheduled for 7:45, and we're almost there. We got 1 minute. Okay, I think it's close enough. It's 7:45, and we have our first public hearing on Gonzalez. And Mr. Gonzalez, same thing as last time around. If you could just get a little feedback here. Is that okay? Keep going? Okay. Just explain to the, is anybody here for the Gonzalez matter? Okay, great. I'll let Mr. Gonzalez explain what his application is all about, and then if you would like to ask questions, voice your opinion, we encourage that. Just once he's done, if you could come up, announce your name and where you live, and what your question is or your concern is, okay? All right, so Mr. Gonzalez, take it away.
So I'm applying for a variance between property 18 Hills Road, which is to the left side of the off of 308, which is also on property, to have enough space for me to create a boundary for my dogs to not escape into the yards back or on the sides. I also eventually will plan to sell the property 18 Hills Road, so I will be taking a little more property from 18 Hills.
Can you keep your voice up so you can hear?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said about something about your daughter.
No, my dogs. My dogs. So I want to put a fence eventually on that side, so the dogs don't run out if they don't run into the yards and the neighbors' yards. But eventually, if I do decide to sell the 18 Hills Road property, I'll have a little more property from my own land.
And you currently reside on 24, correct?
24.
Any questions, concerns? Yeah, you come on up. Okay, if you can just announce your name and where you live.
It's not getting recorded there, Scott, so,
Do you want to bring them up then?
yes, please.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but we do want everything to come across on the tape for people that are watching the video.
Rich Walchuk, I live at 4 Pells Road. the adjoining property over. So just, I want to reiterate the understanding of what's going to go on. You're essentially expanding 24 about a quarter of an acre,
Exactly.
and you're reducing 18 by about a quarter of an acre. So you're really just moving
Yeah, the
a property line just a couple of feet, I would guess. Okay, and the intention is maybe the secondary property
Yeah.
at your primary residence, you may likely sell that. Okay. Now, obviously, these properties are not up to existing code, but they were grandfathered in. So this movement of the line of the properties, that won't impact, well, he can't sell the secondary property now, it's way too small. That won't impact anything. He has the right to sell that second parcel, and the town won't be able to say, well, it's really way too small. It doesn't make the 5-acre limit, it doesn't make the reduced limit, and now it's really small. There will be no,
No, he has the right to
Okay.
sell the property, absolutely.
okay, because I just didn't want that to be dormant. I mean, you try to sell it, and then there are restrictions that you can't move it.
No, I totally.
Isn't this before the lot line adjustment is in front of the planning board for approval? So he's
Right.
going to have an approval from the planning board for the
Okay.
new lot configuration.
That's fine. And I'm just curious, the fences you're putting up for the dogs,
Yeah.
wire fencing, wooden fencing,
Probably like wire fencing, wire, and then the side probably a little more like wooden, so.
Okay.
Wide with the wires, and then like run through. things.
right, sure, okay, yeah, that's essentially it.
Okay,
I'm good, thank you.
all right, thank you.
I'm Janice Smith from 637 Route 308. I live behind his property, his driveway, and then my property is there on the corner. My concern is making the property that he's thinking of selling any less desirable, because right now we are surrounded by 3 homes that are not in use. And so that would be my big concern. The paperwork doesn't tell me how far the house that he would sell is at a 45-degree angle to his driveway,
Yeah.
which, so.
The driveway runs behind that.
Right, so how far does the current property line from the part of that house that is the closest to you?
Yeah,
It's what?
It's really far.
yeah. Maybe,
I don't have a clue where the property
Yeah, we
line
don't
is.
like to
okay,
see-
we have a map up here, and maybe, I know, John, it's not going to be recorded, but it may be helpful.
Yeah, yes,
For
very
her to
helpful.
come up, and
Yep.
and we have this
Is it
map.
behind you?
Yeah, come on, both you guys come on up here, and this is
A
not a
picture
perfect
is worth
system.
1,000 words.
That's right.
Current property line is here. This is where I live. And this is the current property line. I'm moving it up here.
And that's the proposed.
So his right away is right here. And the property moving over here.
I'm here, I'm here,
Yeah,
yes.
so this property would have this big front. And then I just move the property from here.
So that shows my concern that for this house,
Mhm.
they have nothing in the back, which is going to make it not very desirable. They have the property in the back.
What do you mean?
I mean, what's this distance, 25 feet?
That's the variance I'm requesting right now.
I'm sorry?
That's the
Right,
variance I'm requesting
versus,
right now?
Yes,
versus,
that is the distance, 25.
so,
It's 25 feet.
it's-
That's, I mean, that's not very much.
So this would be something like 75 or something like
Right. But I'm just saying, this back corner of the house is very close to this property line. And to me, that says I'm not sure that it's going to sell like it would have sold if they had this much property.
that. And it's saying on
That's my concern.
it's mentioning on the notice that the 50-foot is a requirement for the rear yard setback, and now it's going to be 25.
Exactly.
Okay, I wasn't sure what that rear,
Sure.
I couldn't
No,
quite figure
no,
out from
that's
that
fine.
paperwork,
That's fine.
whether that rear yard was this or this.
No, no,
This
it's
is
That's
a
it.
side.
Yeah, side.
This is a side.
So that's my concern, that the house will not sell as easily. And like I said, we have the house across the street that's been flipping for 5 years. And
Where is that?
it's still not ready.
Is that the one on the other side of 308?
Yes, and
I
now.
don't have anything to do.
That's
Then
been
the
like a
house
work in
next-
progress.
And then the other house across from us, Jack died, and it's for sale. So Right now, we're surrounded by, except for you, of course, and Ellie, and, we're surrounded by a lot of homes that aren't sold, so that's my concern.
Your intent right now is to keep it, right? And
Keep it for
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I'm not intending to sell it right away. So, I'm not intending to sell it right away, so I just want to make the property look bigger,
Well,
so I can.
that doesn't help me either, because now I still have this vacant house here with nobody living.
But-
I mean,
in fact-
my father-in-law died like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, so like, I mean, there was someone living there, and the person technically destroyed the house. So I need to like try to fix it in order for me to sell it, so I can't like get rid of it right now as it is. You know what I mean? Like, even if I sell it as it is, it will be a problem, monetarily.
And that was the same concern I had about the sale. If you're cutting the backyard in so much, make it less desirable, but I was concerned about, is it sellable at that point? Or is the town going to say, there is no backyard?
Oh, no, it's
The
selling.
town- the town
Once he-
can't say
once- Yeah, no, once he gets approvals, he can sell it, absolutely.
What is back here now? Is that all vegetation or
No, that's
feed,
just a
meadow?
lawn here. There is a garden in the back.
So the meadow.
This is all
Right
lawns through here?
This is all lawn.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now it's open between the two
Yeah, it's
houses.
open.
And where is the septic on this house?
This house, right? And the water wells in the back.
And-
This one has.
And the fence you wanted to put up, would it be along the new line?
Along this line here. Give and take, whatever.
Right.
Let me ask
And
this,
so-
let me ask this question. This is where it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say this parcel is improved by moving it here? Although it might diminish this one, but does it not improve this parcel by opening it up?
Oh,
Sure.
I could see why he wants to do it, but.
No, in
like-
terms of your concerns, are you not getting less here but a whole lot more here, is what I'm
You're
arguing.
saying, is it a wash?
But this, he lives here.
But he lives here, he's
It's not
going to
so
stay here, and their concern is, at some point in time, once he renovates from
Nobody living
the last, yeah.
This
what-
is the
what-
primary residence where he's living now. That's an existing occupied residence, and this isn't. So that's improving that, which makes sense. Obviously, I'd want to.
But he owns this property, so
Sure.
if he diminishes the value, it's going to, he'll be the recipient
I'm
of
the
that
one.
diminished value,
Yeah, but I would be the recipient of having nobody living in the neighborhood.
if it makes it harder to sell.
And if you put a fence up here, that says to me that even makes it worse than if you didn't put a fence here.
So just to be clear.
If you were, if for the person living here, because now they're looking out their windows at this fence.
Although it could be hedgerows or something. So the setback is supposed to be 50, right? So it would have been here without need for variance, something like that?
Yeah, but then.
I
Kids
understand.
have a play structure here, and then.
Yep.
And that would be
their
within
grandfather
it.
put there when he was living there, because
Sure.
he wanted to be.
I'm just trying to understand the scope of the,
Yeah.
so the difference, the marginal delta here is really 25 feet.
Yeah.
He could do this without, essentially
Anything.
without our approval, or without a
Yeah, without our
requirement for
approval from
variance.
us. We would not have to give a
50
variance.
feet.
Right.
So the
Right.
difference here is not a lot, it's 25 feet, I guess is all I'm pointing out, is what he's asking.
And the reason you're going as far as you are partially is because there is an existing structure.
Yeah, like a play structure for kids.
Is that a movable structure, or is it, it's
It's pretty much like.
one of those big wooden kind of things?
The wooden things, yeah.
I mean, it's heavy to move. I mean, you have to deconstruct it a bit to.
It took me like
agree.
4 weekends to put it together. I do not want to remove it from where it is.
But I mean, it's not in cement or anything, right?
No, no.
Right, so you'd have to
Right.
deconstruct it, move it in pieces, reconstruct it. It's not an easy job, but it is movable. It isn't a cemented-in structure. Now, you've mentioned that over here would be the fencing, right? And also over here, though?
It would be, the fence would be like this.
Okay, yeah, because the
Like,
dogs
just-
will
just-
get through
There will
here.
be, right, yes, area. I don't want the dogs to go through the
Right.
property.
Okay.
I mean, the last time they ran through the property. I think it was before.
Not yet,
But
that's one problem.
It caught him, it threw it before he crossed the right, so that's my concern, because like, right now, I can't leave him going around the yard.
And so I would just say too, then now you're gonna have this for the dog, and I live here, it's just that much closer to me.
Right. Well, he is allowed, as David points out, to, subject to the planning board, moving the line to about here.
Without our approval.
Without our approval. Without, we wouldn't even be, To 50 feet, correct. So again, we're talking about a difference between,
What if
20
you
feet.
measured 50 feet back from?
Well, you have to mark it from the nearest
Closest
structure,
point.
the closest
Okay.
point. So that's why we're here.
No,
It probably
saying
meet,
If you created the dividing property line parallel,
And that's possible too.
that would open up a little bit.
Yes, you could do 50 feet like this.
Because that would allow you to keep the play structure.
But this is what he's asking us for, so that's what we should consider.
yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Well, I think what we're being asked to do is balance the individual's
Yes.
interest in moving this line with your community interest of not
Well-
increasing the possibility of homeless or abandoned structures.
Right.
That's one way to balance
That's the
it.
main concern about this,
Because it looks very abandoned, and so does this one over here, looks very
Right.
abandoned. This one they're selling, but this was abandoned because John just died last fall.
Well, as I understand it, and this has nothing to do with us, Mr. Gonzalez, you're going to rehab this place from, okay, and then rent it? Okay.
So one of our tests, though, the second test is, can the benefit sought by the appellant be achieved by some method feasible for the appellant to pursue other than the requested area variance?
I think the answer to that is yes.
So
Yeah.
your concept of doing this would meet that test. So as it stands, what we would have to do, answering that test, is say, yes, good. We're
Would you-
required-
would-
we're required to
Also,
follow-
I would just point out too that, the minimum variance necessary is, what your obligation to approve, if you approve.
Would you, what we're getting at is, there's a test, multiple tests that have to be considered in granting or denying this variance. And one of the questions Jeff just mentioned is there another alternative way of achieving the same goal? Such as what Tim was suggesting.
Without requesting a variance.
Without
needing
requesting a variance, or even if you need a variance, at least reducing it down and addressing some of the concerns of the neighbors. So considering potentially moving the lot line a bit. John, do you know what's in front of the planning board? I mean, is it this,
I presume it's up for a lot line adjustment, which is a subdivision approval. I don't know, I haven't had any participation in this at the planning board level, so I don't know.
do you know where you are in the
this is.
planning board?
Not yet, I haven't seen the application for that.
Oh, all right, so.
All right, so if it was already up there and being considered, it's harder to do what we may be suggesting to you, and maybe working on an alternate design that would satisfy everybody.
Would you consider keeping the public hearing open tonight?
Sure.
With Mr. Gonzalez now understanding the concerns of his neighbors? See if for the September meeting, whether he's prepared to, he can talk to his surveyor, see if he's prepared to offer an alternative at the next meeting, or if he's not prepared to offer an alternative, to be able to, explain to the board why, because this does go exactly to the feasibility prong of the test, and you guys are going to have to address that when the time comes to make a decision, so.
We're not trying to make it difficult for you, but we're required to consider 5 questions.
Okay.
Okay, and I think, they're in the law. Chris could probably show you what those 5 questions are.
Did this application
What's in
predate
yeah,
the
it
new
predates.
form?
It's
Okay.
not the new form. In the new form, you would see exactly what we're talking about.
But it's in the
addressed.
law.
But maybe
It's in the law.
we can provide to Mr. Gonzalez a copy of the new form, which will give you the test, so you can see it.
I just want to get, Tim and I went out there,
Yeah.
and when you see how close this line is to this house, just from me standing here, that line being moved, I'm not saying how much, really does help that property.
And it helps this one more than it hurts this one.
It really helps this one much more than the difference
Yes.
between
So if
25,
we read through
35,
these
45, or
tests-
50. It really makes this property a much better property in your neighborhood, in my opinion, by moving it. Because look where the line is.
I
I don't
understand.
have any.
Well, I didn't know where the line was
Yeah.
before,
Yeah, I
but I
agree with that.
understand that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It is making this a better property, and that's great.
Yeah.
But how much are you disadvantaging this property now?
Mhm.
Now, I think
If
we,
you look at the property has
It's
way
you.
more
Yeah.
more property. Whoever buys it, if I decide to sell it,
Right.
can demolish this, move it somewhere? I don't know. I don't know construction. They could do whatever they see fit, right?
because this is really
I don't
dead
know.
space. I mean, as it is now, I think around here, you've stopped mowing.
Yeah, because it's
Around
too
it.
high for my lawn.
And
Okay.
I also observed, I think this is a cinder block building.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to judge its
Yeah.
value, but
Right.
it would be easy to demolish that and move it. But
Were you proposing going from here to here roughly?
Keeping at the 50-foot line.
Okay, wouldn't that be making that worse though, because you're even cutting more into the backyard?
I think all we were saying was that
It avoids
that's an
variance.
that's an option.
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
okay, that's.
If he keeps this, if he does something like this,
Oh, I got it.
and keeps this 50 feet from here,
Okay, that
and
avoids.
then goes like this, he
Got it.
doesn't have to come to us.
No, I got it. Thank
It's between him and the planning board at that point. Okay, and one of the questions we have to ask ourselves, one of them is, could your desired effect be achieved by some other method that would avoid a variance? And this, we're going to have to look at that and say, yes, he could have avoided the need for a variance.
Right, I mean, it
Another
could-
one is going to be, is the variance substantial? You're asking for a variance of 25 feet when the required setback is 50. So that's a 50% request. That, we'd have to debate it, but that kind of looks substantial. 10% is not substantial. 50% may start to look substantial. Will the proposed variance have an adverse impact on the physical environment or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? You have a neighbor who was so far as said, I think it might. So we're trying to help you out here. And the last one is the alleged difficulty self-created? Which means, are you creating this need for a variance yourself? And that one, could be answered,
Originally,
possibly be
I
answered yes
actually
to.
considered that, but I thought it would
Yeah.
be best to have a straight line.
I understand.
So
Yeah.
have like a crooked-
But this is the law, these are the rules and the tests that we
No,
have to follow.
I totally
Yeah.
understand. I'm just saying, the original intent was to have a straight line. As you see now, like the third proper line.
Right.
Yeah.
It's your
Can
line.
you provide us by the next meeting, which will be September 20th, with perhaps an alternative one, just going along the 50-foot, and then, or something else that your
I'll get
surveyor
my
thinks,
surveyor.
and see what they think might make sense?
It's your choice.
It's your-
You
yeah.
don't have to do it, but we're going to have to go through those
Right, so
questions.
I'll definitely survey them.
Okay.
And then, and also communicate with your neighbors
How
too.
would we feel about a compromise?
Well,
We have to see.
We have to
well, we
debate it
want to see what
about-
what the surveyor thinks might work, and then maybe you folks, you can let them know, and be
Okay.
here for the next meeting.
So okay if I take a picture of this?
Sure. This is actually on file.
It's public,
Okay,
it's in the
because
public
public
record.
I
record.
didn't guess what this looked like
Yep.
ahead of time.
And if you have any questions, you can talk to Chris. She has it's on file.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And what's your name?
Smith.
What's your name, ma'am?
Oh, Janice Smith.
Janice
Sorry.
Smith.
At 637 Route 208.
Got that.
Great. Any other concerns?
And you're Rich Walter?
Yeah.
Do I have to provide it?
This-
No.
So this is you?
That's it.
That is.
Your property?
Yeah.
Your property is over
Right.
here?
Just
So
So
there's just a small
there's
driveway
another
going
prop-
back here.
Oh, I see,
have one
there's
of
a
those
flag.
flag properties, so
So you
I
got
just
something
run
that's coming out like this, okay.
maybe 12 feet
Got it.
all the way
Yeah,
up here.
okay.
And then your property.
So you're
goes
here.
about here.
And you're here, yep, okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
so Mr. Gonzalez, we really appreciate it. If you could talk to your surveyor and get some alternative designs that are either remove the need for a variance, or at least reduce down the, you know,
And I would point out too, Scott, that I think you may want to, who's Jeff Decker, the surveyor on this, or
John Decker.
John Decker? In order to kind of keep Mr. Gonzalez's costs down, I think that what you're looking for is something that would end up being, I mean, the surveyor needs to put input in terms of what makes sense, but he doesn't have to have another survey done for the next meeting.
No.
Just to have a pencil, mark on this map to show where a new line would go and that will keep the cost down and also allow for further debate by the board when the map comes back in.
So you don't need to give us the 12 and all that.
And I would say that if you can engage with your neighbors before you come into the meeting, that makes things more efficient. And if you guys can reach a consensus amongst yourselves.
Makes our job easy.
Yeah. But it's also important to us because something that you reach a mutual agreement on means that as a community, you're happy with it, and that makes our job is to try to achieve that through the tests that we're supposed to apply anyway.
Then we say yes to the test instead of no or maybe.
All right, so I think we make a motion
To keep the public hearing open until the meeting on September 20th, that Mr. Gonzalez has agreed to explore possible alternatives, and that we'll pick up the discussion on this at the next meeting.
Okay, a
I
second.
adopt that motion.
Seconded.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I have a quick question on it. Under what is requested on Gonzalez, what we have been talking about, the 50-foot setback, then the minimum lot, is that's the lot where Mr. Gonzalez lives?
I think it's both.
Right now, this one is a 24 Cliff Road, which is where I live.
But they're both aren't they both substandard?
Yes, right? Because it's 5 acres on.
Yeah, they're both substandard. So we'd still have that.
We'd still have
You
that.
still have
Correct.
other variances,
Yes.
but they're not as substantial as that.
This is the key.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that variance, substandard lots is pretty much unavoidable here.
Okay.
And if the surveyor could put the 50-foot line on, so we could know wherever you want it from there at least.
I think what John was saying might be possible is for him to write it in pencil.
Yeah. As long as we can see where that 50-foot line is.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll see you on the 20th.
Okay, so I just want to say that I think that this instance is a perfect explanation about why we did need to redo the application, because I think, I feel that a person in Mr. Gonzalez's position, without the explanations about the tests that are provided in the new application, they didn't really have a basis to understand why they were
Yeah.
here, so,
No, I agree.
anyway.
But I'm sorry to derail the guy, but as I
Well,
started looking at the
we're
test-
not. I mean,
looking
I
at the test,
think-
I thought, we're not gonna be able to say yes.
It's not
Yeah,
a
it's not-
derailment.
it's-
I think it's just it's actually just the process working properly, which is,
I agree.
an application's been made, neighbors have come in and expressed their concerns, and now you understand what those concerns are, and now we're gonna try to apply the test, but also see if we can find a solution that fits within the parameters
Yeah.
of what's allowed.
There's no
under-
urgency here, and I think they seem to be willing to speak with each other, and hopefully, and I think they will, ultimately come up with an alternative that they can all agree on.
Right,
So,
right.
I agree with you. All right, the next matter on is Eveready. I have to recuse myself, so I will ask Mr. Irish to take over.
Okay. So I'll reopen the public hearing for the Eveready case. Is there anybody here who is here for that case? And seeing no one, the answer is no. So I have a question, and maybe we need the advice of John here. It looks like in the latest notes from your office, you said we could consider this as a type 2
Yes,
issue because the planning board issued a negative declaration in 2015 for essentially the same proposal and the matter that we're considering is a separate issue from the site plan review?
Yes, we determined, I think if you think back, we had to take a look at this to see whether this could be separated from the application that's in front of the planning board. And if you think back to the decision, we ended up looking back at the research we'd done for Williams and Phantom Gardner.
Yep.
You guys remember that, which presented similar situations, and we determined that we think under the facts that are presented in this case, that we can classify it as a type 2 action for these variances, and there is a environmental review that's taking place for the rest of what they want to do at the planning board level.
Okay.
So,
And then there was a question about response from the Department of Health, that we were waiting for that.
Yes.
Do we need to do that, or is that also a planning board
Well-
issue, perhaps?
That's a planning board issue. I think, I'm trying to recall whether there were things about that, the location of the wastewater system that would impact the area variances. And I think that one of the questions that's being wrestled with the Department of Health is whether this applicant's going to be able to continue forward with the same wastewater disposal system that's already in place, which I think is underneath the parking lots that are there, or whether the Department of Health is going to require him to put a new system in. And since they're not here pushing you, my suggestion would be to just put this public hearing over to the next meeting, keep it open, keep the clock on a decision from running, and to be able to make sure at some point that whatever decision the Department of Health makes with regard to the septic system doesn't change your view on the variances.
So in other words, we have to wait for the Department of Health decision
Yes.
in order for us to move ahead with certainty.
Yep.
Okay.
And actually, I'll see if we can try to check in with Mr. Trimble to find out what's happening, at the planning board. He was just in my office this morning. I forgot to ask, but
So then I think we should probably, we might as well keep the seeker issue open too, because
Yeah,
that
that-
could possibly change depending on what the
Yep.
Department of Health does
Yep.
too. Okay. All right. Who's writing this case?
I am.
Do you have any questions, Richard?
Is there ever a time when the ZBA contacts an applicant and says, we're still waiting on the Board of Health,
you could, I don't, it depends on how much
I mean,
it
they
bothers
should be
you
here,
that this
uh,
keeps getting
yeah.
put over. I mean, you could close it, if you really wanted to, you can close the public hearing and let the clock run and do nothing, and that's an automatic denial,
Yeah,
so.
no.
But
All right. Well,
there doesn't seem to be any prejudice to the board to just keep
Okay,
postponing
very
this.
good, thank you.
I would think that given the visibility of this site, it's in the town's best interest to see something get done. Yeah. So,
Maybe we should contact them then?
I have previously, I just didn't this time. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mean, my particular feeling is, as an applicant, it's one of your responsibilities is to,
Shepherd.
yeah, I mean, in terms of informing the board as to what the new developments are, that's the role of the applicant, in my opinion, the responsibility of the applicant, rather than the board going out and gathering information on its own.
are
Can
they
we request them to
actively,
come to the next meeting?
We can ask them if they want, or ask them to send a letter or something advising you what the current status is.
Okay.
are they actively showing up at the planning board?
Don't know. Last I had, I don't want to say last I heard because it might be too old, but I didn't think there was any, I haven't heard of any new developments
Okay.
recently on this.
Well, I don't see any harm in keeping it open,
Right, I don't
I
either.
guess, at
I
this
agree.
point. Do you have any questions?
I don't, except the one just floated, which is, what do we tell the applicant to sort of keep this moving? I think you're right
I guess,
about.
let's ask them for an update on the project.
an email would actually
Yep.
be fine, you know, something that is easy for you to just shoot out to the board members without a lot of time.
Just tell them we're not seeing any activity, we don't want to close the public hearing, and then just end up in an automatic denial. So we just like an update as to what's happening. Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Great.
Any other questions?
Nope.
No? All right, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for tonight and continue it at the next meeting.
Second that?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Okay, that does it for the public hearings. We have old business, and Richard, did you write up
Yes.
the Stephen Myron Hall Foundation
Yes, I did.
resolution? Why don't you take us through it?
Alrighty. ZBA case number 952, applicant Stephen Myron Hall Foundation, and it's an appeal from the denial from the building inspector dated May 5th, 2017. The property commonly known as 60 Lake Round Road in Rhinebeck. The parcel number is there. The applicant's property, it's about 3 acres. It's in an RC5 zoning district. The applicant, Zach Mintz, appeared before this board. He's from the firm of Zarin Steinmetz, located in White Plains. They're proposing to build an architectural library, one area variance, and it's a front yard variance. They have 90 feet, they need 100, so the variance would be 10 feet, Chapter 12521. They filed an appeal on June 6, 2017, and paid the requisite fee. It was filed within the 60 days of the date of the ZEO's decision, in accordance with the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. On June 21st, the board deemed the application complete. After accepting the appeal, the board determined this matter should be classified as a Type 2 action under 617 5C13. It was referred to the Rhinebeck Planning Board I have to put that date in, as Kim pointed out to me, so I will get that date. I'll work with you on that. Chris, thank you. The Town Planning Board responded on July 17th, and they recommended the ZBA rely upon its own study of the facts. And they also found the requested area variance raised no significant planning or environmental issues. On July 22nd, I had a difficult time finding it, but I did. And I observed the property firsthand. The site visit was conducted solely to gather information, and no business or deliberations were conducted. The public hearing was held here on July 19th, and there were no public comments received. The public hearing was closed on that date. In review of the variance, the town zoning board have the following findings of facts. If the variance is granted, it's one variance, will it cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? Now, our attorney suggested that the applicant, who had a very detailed letter, be emailed to Chris, which was then emailed to me, which was the Word version. So a lot of this language is from that, and it saved a lot of time and effort. We feel the answer to this question is no. Permitting the expansion would not result in an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. The home itself extends much farther into the setback than the expansion, so the expansion would not result in any development closer to the front of the lot line than already exists. The home and the expansion would be at worst minimally visible from Round Lake Road, because that road is approximately 10 feet below the home as a result of a sharp change in topography near the front line. The property immediately north and west of the property is owned by Stephen Hall, in his private capacity, and the expansion will not be visible to the neighbors. Immediately to the south, the expansion siding is designed to match. It will have a sedum roof so that it will blend in, and the applicant believes that the fellowship program will improve the character of the community, as the fellows will be working towards the preservation of Hudson Valley. We asked, can the benefits...
Can I, sorry, Richard, one of the suggestion, maybe possibly adding one sentence at the end of A, of just saying that it should also be noted that at the public hearing, no one from the public attended the hearing.
I thought I said that.
Yeah, it was up here in 13. During the course
Oh,
of
in
the public hearing,
13,
we
gotcha,
received no
okay,
comments.
sorry,
No problem.
I stand corrected.
All right. B, can the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance? We find the answer to this question is no. The applicant does not possess a feasible alternative method to obtain the betterment sought by the requested variance. The home is built entirely within the front yard setback, so any addition to the home necessarily entails some building within the setback. The expansion effectively minimizes the square footage being built in the setback. C, is the requested area variance substantial? Definitely not substantial. The requested variance is, particularly when viewed in light of the fact the neighborhood would not be adversely impacted. Regardless, New York courts have held that a zoning board must consider the actual impact a requested variance would have on the surrounding community when making their evaluation. And then a case is cited, substantially cannot be judged in the abstract, rather the totality of relevant circumstances must be evaluated. And he cites two cases. In this case, Hall is seeking an area variance of 10 feet, which is approximately 10% of the 100-foot setback. By comparison, the appellate division has stated that even with a 25-foot front yard setback, that was warranted in the O'Keefe case, which is cited. Here, Hall requests a variance which is smaller in both total feet and the percentage relative to the setback requirements than the variance approved in O'Keefe. Go ahead.
Can I just ask, is this, all the legal cases quoted up there, are they correct? It seems a little funny to have all these,
To have citations in the decision. Actually, in cases that are controversial, I don't know if my memory is short, but were you on the board for the Red Wing decision? Okay. So, depending on how controversial the decisions are, sometimes we go very deep into the law. So there's, it's actually, it's a nice little bell and whistle on this.
Yeah, I like it. Certainly can't hurt.
You're a lawyer.
Yes, but even if I wasn't a lawyer, I would agree that it's...
Well, you're a quasi-judicial board, so the law does mean
Just don't
more to you than...
This kind of content from you.
We don't expect much from engineers.
Will the proposed variances have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or the district? We find the answer to this question is no. The granting the variance would not result in any adverse environmental or physical condition of the property. The expansion would not require new paved areas nor the removal of any full-grown trees on the property. The expansion is not within 100 feet of the mean high tide watermark of any DEC classification nor within the LC stream Cartier district, and not within 1,000 feet of any high water mark. E, is the alleged difficulty self-created, although the necessity of this variance, whoops,
Yeah, we're missing something here.
let's see, let me go to my copy here, no problem.
I think we're just missing a comma after building.
Is that it? Okay, well,
Yes, he's saying that even though the building's pre-existing
Right.
for a long time, it is a self-created hardship.
right, I recall saying it was a self-created hardship, right. 15, based on an analysis of 5 factors, we find that the balancing test favors the granting of the now therefore, The ZBA hereby grants, under Chapter 12521, the 10 feet required for the variance. 2, the ZBA did consider a second variance, minimum required minimum lot. The ZBA, with the recommendation from Grant and Lyons, determined this variance was not required because this is an existing lot pursuant to 12522 of the Rhinebeck zoning law. 3, this granting does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits or approvals. The proposed structures must be constructed in conformity with the application plan submitted for the area variance should be 1, shall be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced within 1 year.
All right, any comments?
Okay, just to indicate that Grant and Lyons is your counsel.
Okay,
It doesn't quite say it there.
got it?
And I also would say that Kim Garrison gave this draft resolution very high marks.
I saw that in the
Are
email.
we competing now?
Show off.
Richard gets an A.
No, boy, no, I don't get A's.
Is that what this has come down to?
B plus.
We're going to be graded now?
Well, I think what she's getting
Jeff,
at
I
more
got it.
is
Come on now.
that we were kind of liking that both, this is an example of how the new resolution
Yep.
format and the new application actually came together to make the basis for a very good decision, which I hope wasn't too hard for you to write, which
It
is
wasn't, but Tim brought up a very good point, because did I check these cases? No, I did not. So I learned from your question,
Where did you get them then?
from
From the
the
letter.
from the
from the
applicant.
letter that was given to me, but I should have,
But I will tell you that
You should have shepherdized them.
I should have,
That's
and
why-
jeopardized them.
I will tell you, though, that I can tell you offhand that the principle for which those cases are offered is correct in terms of the law. And we've talked about it before, about substantiality having several different facets, and a particular arithmetic deviance from the code can be very substantial in one instance, and not, that same 10 feet in another instance might not be very substantial, so.
But I appreciate Richard saying that, because I like to believe that we all do understand everything in our letters, in our draft resolutions. And so the fact that you've said that you don't, I really appreciate.
Even though I jeopardized my A.
No, well, yes, you did.
Well, I think
But
the
we have a
job
conflict.
actually.
Well, we
is
reviewed it,
counsel's.
and because the principle is sound,
Because
that's
just
why we
because you're
didn't raise a
lawyer
comment about
Doesn't mean
that.
that you have to
Right,
take on the
and-
extra responsibility of jeopardizing.
Okay.
And that's why it works for us, because we got them backing you up.
All right, good,
You still got the A.
all right.
And I think the only other thing I'd say for your deliberations is that, you just want to make sure that as a board, these reasons also represent your own opinions with regard to these factors.
All right.
I thought this was an easy one. Made sense. Setback, it's not a big deal. And I think it should be approved. But that's
Yep.
just mine. Anybody else have any other comments?
No, it seemed very minimal.
Yeah, as minimal, yeah, you can't get much more minimal.
Do you want to make a resolution?
Make a motion?
Make a
Make a motion, yes, to accept this application and approve this one variance.
Okay, and I'll second it. Can you poll the board, please?
Tim?
Yeah,
Richard?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Dave?
Indeed.
Okay, great. Next, we have WTR Rhinebeck LLC.
Yeah, so that's mine, and the resolution is just about done. I had a few questions for Chris and Kim. They answered them both, I think, on Monday, so I just need to tie up loose ends. You
Okay.
should have that this weekend, and it'll be on the next
All right.
agenda.
That's
Kim?
fine, we have plenty of time.
We didn't know whether, did Mark ever stake the site for you guys, and did you go out and look at
I
it?
went out and looked at it, and honestly, I couldn't find the stakes, but I found a lot of ticks.
I believe Chris, didn't he indicate to you that he had not staked? He wanted to let us know.
Have you gotten time
Yeah, maybe you can remind him, and then if anybody wants to go out, we can go out.
I mean, I will just say that I'm not sure that it's, I don't want to burden the landowner with unnecessary cost. If there's sort of a risk that, you know, you guys aren't really going to go out there, because it is tick heaven. And when I was out there, it didn't look like staking it, of course they weren't there, so I can't tell for sure, but it didn't look like it would help a lot. So I don't know if you want to do that, but you're welcome to.
If he doesn't think it's that big of a burden, it usually doesn't hurt to see it. I like to see the stakes, and
I do
it gives
too.
you a better idea.
But since I've already been out,
Yeah.
I have my own opinion, so it's up to you guys if you want it.
Can you catch up with Mark and just see what's going on? Okay.
As far as Gonzalez goes, I'm going to be out on the next
Okay.
one, so Richard is going to cover.
Okay,
I
great.
sent you a Word version, right?
I'm sorry?
I sent you a Word version of that resolution, right? for Gonzalez.
I believe you did.
Is that the same Gonzalez we just had?
And,
Yes.
and, you know, with the public hearing
No,
is
we
really,
can't move forward anyway, because we are going to,
You kept the public hearing
we
open.
kept it open, and we're going to consider, hopefully, there'll be alternative plans and one that everybody agrees on.
Right, and when I come back,
Since you may be an engineer, but it was me who noticed that the setback wasn't on the drawing.
Okay.
So I add value.
You absolutely add
And
value.
he found the septic system.
He usually finds the septic system. That's his, for some
That's
reason.
my
that's
specialty.
your specialty, septic
I don't ever
systems.
want to approve construction
Yeah.
on a septic field.
I'm worried, I'm at about the
Got me on that.
62 days on WTR. Is September 20th, are we still,
Well, we closed it last meeting.
we closed it on July
And
19th.
I assume the reason we have 62 is in case, you know, the second meeting is delayed for some reason, but we'll be at the 60-day mark, right?
Yes, I'm just saying that, I don't know, I didn't count the days
I
for the
see.
20th, but I'm presuming that, but I just
I think
wanted
we're
to
gonna be
say that
close.
you're going to need to be ready to take action.
Yeah.
At that
On
meeting.
on
Okay.
Gonzalez.
No,
On
Yeah,
WTR.
Gonzalez isn't even closed.
No, good, thank you.
I have just a couple questions.
Our next meeting's the 20th.
Correct.
I maybe count 63 days. Our last meeting was the 19th of July.
You don't count the day of the meeting, you start the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 7 would be the 26th. Then the 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, 30th is another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. The 6th would be 7. The 13th would be 8. And the 20th would be 9 weeks. That's 9 times 7 is 63.
You can actually ask the applicant to waive that requirement, so maybe we should do that when we talk to, I believe we can do that, correct?
Yeah, we can ask for an extension to allow the board to take action on the 20th. So if you could roll that into the communication to Mark, Chris, that would be good.
So
And then when he responds, if you can just shoot that out to the board.
So if we don't take action, it's an automatic denial.
Yeah.
So I guess it's in his best interest
Yeah,
to.
he's not going to have a problem with it.
Yeah, one more day, you know. I wouldn't say one day, I'd just say extend it to, through September 20th, so that it's just clear that it's our next meeting.
Okay, that's all we have on the agenda, unless, John, is there anything you want to address with us?
Nope. I just want to say that, you know, we looked at the Steiker application, which is the first non-professional application that came in under with the new form, and we think it's working pretty well. I think you got better explanations with regard to the criteria than we've seen on the other form, so.
Good.
That's good. We still have yet to iron out, you know, we got another late denial letter. We still need to, I'm really been the bottleneck in setting up a meeting with Ron, you, Chris, Mike Trimble, to talk about getting that squared away, but we will do that, because that's another piece that can make it difficult for the applicants if they don't have the ZEO's reasons for why they need a variant, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody have anything? Tim?
What about this solar farm? With Sherrod?
That's just information for us.
Information?
Yeah, it's not before us. I don't think it's going to be before us, quite frankly.
Which one is that?
The Sherrod solar farm.
Yeah, unclear at the moment. That's only in its formative stages at the
Right.
planning board, and there's a
We're
lot
just
of...
being, we're being provided that information just to keep us in the loop, but I don't know that it's ever going to come to us, because I don't know that it's ever going to require a variance.
Yeah,
my
I don't know.
understanding.
There's no business before this board at the
Right.
moment. And
It's an
anything
FYI.
that- Yeah. The only other thing I wanted is, did the Nemers application come in? I know it didn't make the agenda for this.
Okay, yes, so that's what I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit later.
Okay.
About how to proceed with things like that.
Yeah, so one of the applications that's in the pipeline, just to give you, is unusual. This is going to be an application for an interpretation. It's an appeal from a decision of the zoning enforcement officer in issuing a stop work order. And so, just letting you know, it's a little bit of a departure from variances, but you have jurisdiction over area variances, use variances, and then interpretations, and that is an umbrella term that includes questions about what the zoning law means, but also anyone who wants to appeal from any action that's taken by the zoning enforcement officer is classified as an interpretation. So, and then there's no escrow deposit for an interpretation that presents the facts that are presented in, as I understand them, in this, where the applicant is seeking to, he's claiming that the stop work order was issued in error, and he's seeking to enforce a right, and you don't have to, you're not authorized to collect an escrow for that.
Okay, great. Anything else?
I have a question,
Okay.
procedural and legal. So let's say on Richard's resolution, I like the answer on 4 of the 5 questions, but I didn't like what the rest of the group answered on the 5th. So I guess the question to you is, would we adjust the resolution to say that the board has, a divergence of opinion on question number 5, or would I vote no and it would be 4-1?
Correct.
Your first step would be to see if you could reach express your
Consensus.
concern and see if you can reach a consensus.
And if you can't do that?
And then the second thing is that it might be possible that even though you disagree on that particular part of the criteria, you may still think the balancing test, you agree with the balance, in which case you would vote in favor, I would suggest you vote in favor of the resolution. If you think that your disagreement was such that it takes you to a different result than the rest of the board on the balancing test, then you would vote against it.
Okay, and it would still carry, assuming it was 4-1 or 3-2. That's why we have, okay.
Yeah. Right.
But there's no opportunity for a comment, like I'm voting yes,
Or like
but.
a
dissent.
dissenting
Yeah,
opinion.
No.
that's not, okay.
no.
All right,
No.
thank you.
But there is an opportunity to make a statement that's reflected in the minutes to explain why your position is what it is.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
That it?
That's it?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Third.
Okay, we're done.